going to show you how to do the exact same thing without running external things like a registry or going over the event. So we have this thing called NKP bundle, which bundles everything that you need to do this whole process. So still all your container images like we talked about, but now also some additional things. There is a CLI that runs anywhere, Linux, Windows, Mac, and we're no longer using a Bootstrap cluster in this example, well, you kind of are, but it's different. It doesn't use Docker. You don't need a Docker daemon. It doesn't use Podman, but we run this Bootstrap cluster in a different way. That's kind of creative. So this anywhere CLI includes the Kubernetes control plane daemons, so etcd and the API server and so forth, just as binaries built for these platforms. And we use envtest to run these things. Anybody know envtest? It's a kubebuilder. Bring it up real quick. So this is from the kubebuilder documentation. Envtest is a Go library. It's kind of intended to write tests for your controllers. You build your own Kubernetes controllers. But what it does is it's setting up and starting an instance of etcd and Kubernetes API server, kubelet, all the other components. So it runs those without a Docker daemon, without Podman or anything like that. But it's still those components. So that's what we do here. We just grab those binaries, right? API server binary, etcd binary, and so forth, and run them with envtest directly on the machine without pulling images or anything like that. And then we also run the Kappa controllers the same way. So those also don't need to get pulled from anywhere. So now you have a Kappa controller, you have the Kubernetes control plane components, you basically have a Kubernetes cluster, and you can start provisioning clusters on your infrastructure provider using Kappa. So what do we do next? Well, you still need to get your image registry up and running in the cluster somehow, right? Because you still want to run. So far, we've only talked about cluster bootstrapping, but you want to run things on that cluster that you're setting up, right? You want to add add-ons or run workloads. So to bootstrap that, what we do is eventually we want to run a registry in that cluster, again, not in the Bootstrap cluster, but the cluster we're provisioning. And so to bootstrap that, we're also running a local registry on the Bootstrap node, again, just as a process, using the images that are part of this bundle, right? Which again, we did the work up front to figure out which images we need. So all the images and all the charts are on this Bootstrap machine, and then we use distribution, that component in Harbor, populate that on the cluster. So now our images are in the cluster that we're provisioning, and we bring up the worker node and run a full set of Harbor, and again populate it with the images from the bundle. And at that point, this is where they go. We populate it in there. So at that point, we have everything self-contained in the cluster that we just set up with Cluster API, and again, the Bootstrap node can go away. So that was kind of a little bit in the weeds. But the huge benefit of this is, so notice we didn't set up an external registry in any way here, right? Everything happened on the Bootstrap node. We didn't set up a full Kubernetes cluster. We didn't need Podman, we didn't need Docker daemon. So in addition to cutting down all the dependencies, which makes the whole thing more robust, it's also a lot faster because we're not pulling images for the Bootstrap node, right? It's all just binaries that we start as daemons on the machine. And so we did a little test bringing up the Bootstrap, I was going to say Bootstrap cluster, but it's not really a cluster, the Bootstrap processes, I guess. It takes only about 5 seconds using this method versus multiple minutes if you're pulling down all the images and they have to wait, on their dependencies to come up. So
So yeah, it's a really fast way to do this. It's more robust, and it's really self-contained, which matters. Definitely matters in air-gapped environments where that's kind of your only option, but also matters in other environments where you want to just not do things over the internet and try to not use DNS as much.